Mara Chen wiped the grease from her hands and stared at the broken engine in front of her. Another day, another impossible repair job at the salvage station on the edge of nowhere. The Corax Nebula stretched outside the viewport like a purple and blue painting, beautiful but deadly. Most people avoided this place. Mara had worked here for 5 years, fixing things that other mechanics said couldn't be fixed. "Chen, we got a signal." Her supervisor's voice crackled over the comm. "Distress beacon, old one." Really old. Mara stood up and walked to the control room. The other mechanics were already gathered around the screen, looking at the readings. The beacon was ancient, using a frequency that nobody had used in over 1,000 years. Whatever was out there had been drifting for a very long time. "I'll check it out," Mara said. Her supervisor shook his head. "Too dangerous. Could be a trap. Could be radiation. Could be anything." But Mara was already pulling on her spacesuit. She had a feeling about this one. Something in her gut told her this was important. The other mechanics knew better than to argue with her when she got that look in her eyes. The small shuttle took 20 minutes to reach the source of the signal. At first, Mara thought it was a ship. A massive ship bigger than anything she had ever seen. But as she got closer, she realized something was wrong. The hull wasn't metal. It was textured, almost like scales. And it was breathing. "What the hell?" Mara whispered. She docked the shuttle on what looked like a landing platform and stepped inside. The interior was warm and humid. Soft blue lights pulsed along the walls like a heartbeat. This wasn't a ship. This was alive. Mara walked deeper inside, following the strongest life signs on her scanner. The corridors were huge, meant for something much larger than a human. She felt small and fragile in this place. Finally, she reached a massive chamber, and there, in the center, was a dragon. Mara had heard the stories. Everyone had. The Drakkar, the ancient beings who lived in space itself, who could travel between stars without ships. But they were myths. Legends told to children. They weren't supposed to be real. The dragon was enormous, easily 100 meters long. His scales were dark blue and silver, but they were dim now, flickering like dying lights. His eyes opened as Mara approached. They were gold and ancient and full of pain. "A human," the dragon's voice echoed in Mara's mind, not through her ears. "I did not expect a human." Mara's hand shook as she raised her scanner. "You're dying. Your heart, or whatever that is, it's failing." "My fusion heart," the dragon said softly. "Yes, I am Valcronus, the last of the Drakkar. I have lived for 3,000 of your years. I felt my time ending, so I searched for help. But most species fear us now. Some want to cut us apart and sell our pieces. You are the first to come." Mara looked at the readings. The fusion heart was a biological reactor, part organic and part something else entirely. It was failing, slowly shutting down. Without it, Valcronus would die. "I'm a mechanic," Mara said. "I fix things. Maybe I can fix you." Valcronus made a sound like a sad laugh. "My kind are beyond your technology, little human." "But I appreciate the kindness." "Let me try," Mara insisted. She walked closer, placing her hand on one of his scales. It was warm and smooth. "I've fixed things people said were impossible before. Just give me a chance." The dragon looked at her for a long moment. Then he lowered his massive head. "Very well. If you wish to try, I will not stop you. But know this, the Sovereign Collective hunts my kind. They killed all the others. If they find me here, they will come. You may die for helping me." "The Collective?" Mara frowned. She knew about them. The big alliance that controlled most of the galaxy. They acted like peacekeepers, but everyone knew they crushed anyone who didn't follow their rules. "They fear what we represent," Valcronus explained. "Freedom, power they cannot control. So they eliminated us one by one. I am the last because I hid, I ran. And now I am dying anyway." Mara's jaw tightened. She hated bullies. She hated people who destroyed things just because they were afraid. "Then we'll fix you and make sure you don't die. Show me how your heart works." Over the next hours, Mara studied Valcronus's biology. It was like nothing she had ever seen. Part machine, part living tissue, part something that seemed to bend the laws of physics. But she began to understand it. Every system, no matter how advanced, had basics. Fuel goes in, power comes out. When something breaks, you find the break and fix it. Her comm beeped. It was her supervisor. "Chen, get back here, now, Commander's orders." "Abandon whatever you found." Mara looked at Valcronus, at his dimming scales and tired eyes. She thought about going back, following orders, being safe, then she turned off her comm. "I'm staying," she said. "I'll figure this out." I promise. Valcronus's eyes brightened just a little. You would risk everything for a stranger? For a dying legend? Mara smiled and pulled out her tools. I'm human. We're stubborn like that. Now hold still. This is going to be weird for both of us. She got to work, and the dragon watched her with something like hope in his ancient eyes. Mara hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her hands were steady despite the exhaustion, carefully connecting a human fusion reactor core to Valcronus's failing heart. It shouldn't work. The technology was thousands of years different. But Mara didn't care about what should or shouldn't work. She cared about what did work. The pain is less, Valcronus said in her mind. How are you doing this? Your people made everything complicated, Mara explained, tightening a connection. Beautiful, sure, but complicated. Sometimes the old ways work better. Human tech is simple. Brute force. We don't try to be elegant, we try to be effective. She had cannibalized 3 generators from the salvage station, stealing them in the middle of the night. Her crew probably thought she was crazy. Maybe she was. But the hybrid system was working. The human reactor was pumping energy into Valcronus's biological systems, taking pressure off his dying heart. Tell me about your people, Mara said as she worked. The real story, not the legends. Valcronus was quiet for a moment. Then images flooded into Mara's mind. Not words, but memories. She saw space filled with dragons, hundreds of them, flying between stars. They maintained the hyperspace lanes, keeping them stable so younger species could travel safely. They protected trade routes from pirates and cosmic storms. They were guardians. We never ruled, Valcronus showed her. We only protected. We thought that was enough. More memories came. The sovereign collective rising to power, uniting dozens of species under one banner. At first it seemed good, peace and cooperation. But then the collective wanted control of everything, including the hyperspace lanes. They demanded we serve them. Valcronus's voice was bitter. We refused. We served all species, not just one alliance. So they declared us dangerous. Enemies of peace, they called us. Mara saw the war through his eyes. Drakkar hunted by massive fleets, killed one by one. They were powerful, but there were so few of them. The collective had millions of ships. Eventually, only Valcronus remained. They're still hunting you? Mara asked always. If they knew I was here, they would send a fleet. You cannot fight them, Mara-chan. They are too strong. Mara finished the last connection and sat back. Test it, try to move. Valcronus's eyes glowed brighter. His scales began to shimmer with blue light. He shifted his massive body, and for the first time in months there was no pain. It works. By the ancient stars, it actually works. Temporary fix, Mara warned. It'll keep you alive, but it's not permanent. Your real heart is still failing. We'd need to fully repair or replace it. That would require a starforge, Valcronus said. The ancient places where my people were born. They had the technology to rebuild us, to create new Drakkar, but the collective destroyed most of them. Most means not all, Mara pointed out. One remains, in the Andros system, deep in collective territory, the most heavily guarded sector in the galaxy. Valcronus looked at her. It is impossible to reach. Mara wiped her hands and stood up. She walked to the viewport and looked out at the nebula. Her whole life she had fixed things. Engines, generators, life support systems. Everything could be fixed if you were smart enough and stubborn enough. Nothing's impossible, she said. Just difficult. Where's this forge? You cannot be serious. They will kill you. They'll try, Mara corrected. Big difference. Show me where it is. Valcronus hesitated, then projected a star map into Mara's mind. She saw the route, the dangers, the collective patrol patterns. It was suicide. No question about it. Any sane person would say no. Mara had never been particularly sane. We'll need supplies, she said, already planning. Fuel, weapons, spare parts. And we'll need to avoid the main trade routes. How fast can you fly now? Faster than before? But Mara, you do not understand what you are offering. This bond between us, it is becoming permanent. I can feel your mind now, your determination. If you come with me, your life will change forever. Already changed, Mara said. She could feel it too. A connection growing between them. Sometimes she knew what he was thinking before he said it. Sometimes she felt his pain and his hope. It should have scared her. Instead it felt right. Why? Valcronus asked. Why would you risk everything for me? We only just met. Mara thought about that. She remembered being a kid watching bullies pick on smaller kids. She remembered hating it. Even when it was dangerous to interfere, She remembered her grandfather telling her that good people don't just watch when someone needs help. Because you need help, she said simply, and because the collective sounds like a bunch of assholes who need someone to stand up to them, and because, she paused, then smiled, because fixing impossible things is what I do. Valcronus's laughter filled her mind, warm and genuine. Humans, I had forgotten how wonderfully insane you are. Very well, Mara-chan. We fly to the Starforge together. If we die, at least we die trying. We're not going to die, Mara said confidently. We're going to fix you properly this time. And maybe along the way we'll remind the galaxy why dragons matter. She began gathering her tools and equipment. Valcronus watched her work, his scales glowing brighter than they had in years. The hybrid heart hummed steadily in his chest, human technology and ancient biology working together. Neither of them noticed the surveillance drone outside, recording everything. Neither of them knew that the collective already knew about them. The hunt had begun, but so had something else. Something the galaxy hadn't seen in a long time. A human and a dragon bonded together, refusing to give up. It was the beginning of a story that would shake the stars themselves. Mara finished packing and climbed onto Valcronus's back. Ready? Ready, the dragon confirmed. They launched from the salvage station into the nebula, leaving everything behind. Two unlikely companions heading toward certain danger, and somehow neither of them had ever felt more alive. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. A human mechanic had saved a Drakkar. The last dragon lived, and they were flying together toward collective space. Mara watched the reports on a stolen datapad, while Valcronus glided through the void between stars. Her face was everywhere. Some called her a hero, others called her a criminal. The Sovereign Collective had put a bounty on both their heads that could buy a planet. You're famous, Valcronus observed, amused. Yeah, great, Mara muttered. Always wanted to be wanted for treason across half the galaxy. They had been traveling for 3 weeks, taking long routes through empty space to avoid patrols. The hybrid heart was holding, but Valcronus needed rest more often now. The temporary fix was degrading faster than Mara had hoped. A small ship appeared on their sensors. Then another. Then 5 more. Collective hunters? Mara asked, reaching for the weapons she'd installed. No, Valcronus said, surprised. Look at their identifiers. They're civilian vessels. Merchants, transports, even a mining ship. The lead ship opened a communication channel. An alien face appeared on the screen, covered in blue scales and sporting 4 eyes. Dragon and human, we mean no harm. We heard what you did. We heard you're going to the Starforge. And? Mara asked cautiously. We want to help. The collective took my family's land 3 years ago. Claimed it was for the greater good. We've been running ever since. The alien's voice was bitter. If you're going against them, we want to be part of it. More ships joined them over the next days. Refugees, rebels, pirates, outcasts. Species that the collective had crushed or ignored. They formed a ragged fleet around Valcronus, following the dragon and his human companion. Mara found herself teaching mechanics from a dozen different species. They gathered in Valcronus's interior chambers, and she showed them human techniques. Simple solutions, practical fixes, things that didn't require advanced technology. You're overcomplicating it, she told the insectoid engineer struggling with a power coupling. See this? Just bypass the safety systems and connect it directly. Yeah, it's dangerous, but it works. The engineer's antenna twitched in surprise. But that violates 3 different safety protocols. Safety protocols don't matter if your ship is dead in space, Mara pointed out. Human engineering rule number 1, working in dangerous beats safe and broken. Word of her methods spread. Soon, engineers from across the fleet were using human solutions to fix their aging equipment. Mara became a symbol of something the collective hated: independence. The ability to survive without their control. The collective didn't take long to respond. They jumped into a supposedly empty system and found 30 collective warships waiting. Sleek, powerful, and absolutely deadly. Surrender the Drakkar and the human, a voice commanded. This is your only warning. Valcronus's body tensed. Mara, hold on. Wait, Mara said. She activated the fleet-wide channel. Everyone, pattern Delta 7. Like we practiced. The civilian ships scattered in a coordinated pattern that Mara had designed. Not military precision, but chaotic enough to confuse targeting systems. The collective ships fired, but most shots missed. Valcronus roared and reality bent. He created a ripple in space itself, a temporary tear that swallowed 3 collective ships and spat them out 1,000,000 kilometers away. But the effort cost him. His scales dimmed and the hybrid heart stuttered. "Can't do that again," he gasped. Not enough power. Mara was already moving. She had spent weeks installing weapon systems on Valcronis's body, using salvaged parts and human ingenuity. Railguns mounted on his shoulders. Missile pods disguised as scale plates. Nothing fancy but effective. "Then we don't need fancy dragon magic," Mara said. "We go human style. Target their engines, not their armor. Precision over power." The weapons fired. Mara's targeting was perfect, hitting weak points that most species overlooked. Human warfare wasn't about honor or flashy displays. It was about winning, whatever it took. 3 collective ships lost power. 2 more collided when their navigation failed. The civilian fleet, emboldened, joined the fight with their own improvised weapons. The collective fleet retreated, shocked that a bunch of refugees had driven them off. Cheers erupted across the communication channels. Someone started calling Mara Dragon's Heart. The name stuck. That night, as Valcronis rested and repaired, Mara sat in his chamber and looked at their growing fleet. There were almost 100 ships now. Families, fighters, dreamers, all following a dying dragon and a stubborn mechanic. "We started a rebellion," Valcronis said quietly in her mind. "Yeah," Mara agreed. "Didn't mean to, but here we are. The collective will not stop hunting us now. They will send more ships, bigger weapons. They will make examples of everyone who follows us." Mara felt his fear through their bond, but she also felt something else, hope. Real hope for the first time in centuries. "Let them come," she said. "We'll keep moving forward. We'll reach that forge, and we'll show the galaxy that the collective isn't unstoppable." "You truly believe that?" Mara thought about humanity's history. Every war, every struggle, every time people said something was impossible, humans had a talent for proving everyone wrong through sheer stubbornness. "I believe that bullies only win when good people give up," Mara said. "And I'm not very good at giving up." Valcronis's warm laughter filled her mind. "No, you certainly are not." A young alien girl appeared at the entrance to the chamber clutching a broken toy. She looked scared but determined. "Dragon's heart? My toy broke. Can you fix it?" Mara smiled and waved her over. "Sure, kid. Let me see." As she repaired the simple toy with basic tools, Valcronis watched. This human, covered in grease and exhaustion, was changing everything without even trying. She didn't make speeches or promises. She just fixed things and refused to quit. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was exactly what the galaxy needed. The Starforge was still weeks away. The collective would throw everything at them. The odds of success were terrible. But looking at Mara Chen, covered in engine grease and smiling at a grateful child, Valcronis thought maybe, just maybe, humans had always been the galaxy's secret weapon. They just needed a reason to fight. Now they had one. The fleet moved on through the darkness, a dragon and a human leading the way. Behind them, more ships joined every day. A rebellion born not from grand plans but from one simple act of kindness. The collective should have been afraid. They just didn't know it yet. The Andros system blazed before them like a fortress of light. 50 collective warships orbited the dying star, and somewhere in that deadly dance was the Starforge. Mara studied the tactical display, calculating angles and probabilities. Their rebel fleet had grown to 200 ships, but they were civilian vessels with improvised weapons. Against the collective's military might, they were hopelessly outmatched. "It's a suicide run," one of the fleet captains said over the comm. "Probably," Mara agreed. "Anyone who wants to leave, leave now." "No shame in it, nobody left." Valcronis's voice filled her mind. "They follow you into death itself." "How does that feel?" "Terrifying," Mara admitted. "But we're not dying today. We're getting you to that forge." The plan was simple, like all of Mara's plans. The fleet would engage the collective ships, drawing their attention. Meanwhile, Valcronis would punch through the defenses using his remaining power. They'd have maybe 10 minutes inside the forge before the collective overwhelmed them. 10 minutes to save a species. "All ships," Mara broadcast. "Remember, hit their sensors first. Blind them. Make them confused. Don't try to be heroes, just be annoying." The fleet charged forward and chaos erupted. The collective ships were powerful but slow to adapt. The rebels swarmed like insects, striking from impossible angles using tactics no military academy would teach. Messy, unpredictable human tactics. Valcronus dove through the battle, his scales glowing with power. Mara held on, feeling every twist and turn through their bond. Weapons fire lit up the space around them, but Valcronus was fast, twisting through danger like a dancer. The Starforge appeared ahead, a massive ring surrounding the dying star. It was ancient and beautiful, covered in technology that looked like art. Automated defenses activated, but Valcronus roared and they simply stopped. Recognizing one of their makers, they crashed through the entrance and suddenly everything was quiet. The sounds of battle faded behind them. The interior of the forge was enormous, filled with swirling energy and floating platforms. At the center was a chamber that pulsed with golden light. The heart chamber, Valcronus whispered, where my people were born. Mara climbed down and approached the chamber. Her scanner went crazy, reading energy types that shouldn't exist. The chamber was alive, waiting, ready to create. I don't understand, Mara said. This is just a repair station, right? Fix your heart and we leave? No. Valcronus moved closer, his voice heavy with emotion. I lied to you, Mara. Not completely, but I didn't tell you everything. Mara turned to face him. What do you mean? The Starforge doesn't just repair. It creates, it births new Drakkar. He lowered his massive head. I carry within me the genetic material of the last 3 Drakkar who died. I've been carrying it for 100 years, searching for a forge, hoping to give my people one last chance. Mara's breath caught. You're going to make more dragons. I'm going to try. But it requires 2 things. A living Drakkar to provide the base material. He looked at her with those ancient golden eyes, and a kindred soul. Someone who understands both the mechanical and the cosmic. Someone who can bridge the gap between what we were and what we must become. The realization hit Mara like a physical blow. Me, that's why the neural link. That's why we bonded so easily. The Forge recognized you the moment we connected. It saw in you what I saw, a mind that could understand both biology and machinery, a spirit strong enough to reshape reality itself. Valcronus's voice was gentle. I should have told you, but I was afraid you would refuse. Mara looked at the pulsing chamber. She thought about what he was asking, connecting her human mind to ancient alien technology, letting it rewrite her neural patterns to bridge 2 impossible concepts. It would hurt, it might kill her, and she would never be fully human again. Show me what to do, Mara said. Mara, show me, she insisted. We didn't come this far to fail now. Valcronus guided her to the chamber. There were connection points designed for Drakkar biology but adaptable. Mara began modifying them with her tools, creating interfaces that human nerves could use. This will change you fundamentally, Valcronus warned. Good, Mara said. I was getting bored being normal anyway. She connected herself to the forge and immediately screamed. It felt like her brain was being pulled apart and reassembled. Information flooded her mind, ancient knowledge mixing with human understanding. She saw mathematics as colors, physics as music, biology as poetry. She understood now. The Drakkar weren't just biological. They were living equations, creatures that existed partially in normal space and partially in the quantum realm. Creating them required someone who could hold contradictory concepts in their mind simultaneously. Humans were good at that. Humans were excellent at believing impossible things. Mara poured her understanding into the forge. She showed it how human fusion reactors worked, how mechanical systems could supplement biological ones. She taught ancient alien technology about human stubbornness, about fixing things with duct tape and prayer and sheer determination. The forge responded, adapting, learning. It pulled genetic material from Valcronus and began constructing. 3 pods formed in the chamber, each containing a growing life. It's working, Valcronus breathed. By the ancient stars, it's actually working. But then alarms blared. The collective had broken through the rebel fleet. They were approaching the forge. Worse, Valcronus said, his eyes widening. They're destabilizing the star. They're going to cause a supernova. They'll destroy the forge rather than let us succeed. Mara's vision swam with pain, but she held on. The eggs needed more time. Just a few more minutes. How long until the star explodes? She gasped. 8 minutes. Then we have 8 minutes. Mara gritted her teeth. I'm not letting these kids die before they're even born. She dove deeper into the connection, her consciousness merging with the forge's systems. She could feel the growing dragons, sense their tiny hearts beginning to beat. They were so close to life. The star groaned, beginning its death throes. The chamber shook. Valcronus moved to shield Mara with his body. "Leave," Mara commanded. "Save yourself." "No," Valcronus said simply. "We are bonded, you and I, heart sister. I will not abandon you." 5 minutes left. The eggs were almost ready, but not quite. Mara could feel her human body failing, burned out by energies it was never meant to channel. But she could also feel something else. The rebel fleet, damaged and dying, was forming a shield around the forge. Ships positioning themselves between the star and the structure, buying precious seconds with their lives. "Don't you dare," Mara whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Don't you dare die for us." "You taught us to fight," a voice crackled over the comm. "Now we teach you to hope." 3 minutes. The eggs cracked. 3 tiny dragons emerged, each no bigger than Mara's arm. They chirped, confused and scared. The star reached critical mass. Valcronus roared with everything he had left, wrapping space and time around the forge, around Mara, around his children, and the star exploded. The supernova tore through space like the universe screaming. Billions of tons of stellar matter exploded outward at nearly the speed of light. The collective fleet vaporized instantly. Caught in the blast they had triggered, inside the bubble of warped space-time, Mara felt Valcronus dying. He had wrapped them in a protective sphere, bending reality itself to shield them from the explosion. But the effort was destroying him. His scales cracked and bled light. His fusion heart stuttered, the hybrid human technology burning out under the impossible strain. "Hold on," Mara begged. Still connected to the forge's systems, she could feel his pain through their bond, overwhelming and absolute. "Please hold on." The 3 baby dragons huddled against Valcronus's chest, terrified by the chaos. They were so small, so fragile, born into a universe trying to kill them. Through the viewport, Mara saw the rebel fleet. Ships melted like candles, their shields failing one by one. But they held formation, adding their own shield energy to Valcronus's bubble. Hundreds of beings choosing to die to protect a dragon and his human. "No," Mara whispered. "No, this isn't fair." "Life rarely is," Valcronus said weakly in her mind. "But they chose this. Honor their choice." Mara's vision blurred, but not from tears. The connection to the forge was showing her something. Energy patterns, quantum possibilities, the mathematical structure of reality itself. She could see it now, could understand it in a way no human should. The forge had changed her. Made her something between human and Drakkar, capable of perceiving dimensions her species wasn't meant to see, and she saw a solution. "The forge is still active," Mara said, her voice strange even to her own ears. "It's still connected to me. I can use it." "Use it how?" Valcronus asked. "You're using your life force to hold the bubble, burning yourself out to keep us safe." Mara's hands moved across the forge's controls, inputting commands faster than thought. "But I'm connected to both you and the forge. I can be the bridge. Channel the forge's power through me into you, stabilizing the bubble without killing you. That will kill you instead." "Maybe," Mara admitted. "But I'm human. We're stubborn about dying. Let me try." Before Valcronus could argue, Mara activated the connection. Power flooded through her, ancient and vast and terrible. It felt like holding a star in her chest, like her blood was replaced with liquid fire. She screamed, but she held on. The energy flowed through their bond, into Valcronus, stabilizing his failing systems. His scales brightened. The bubble solidified, becoming stronger instead of weaker. Outside, the supernova raged. Inside, a human woman burned herself out, keeping a dragon alive. "Mara, stop," Valcronus begged. "You're dying." "Not yet, I'm not," Mara gasped. She could feel her body breaking down on a cellular level, but she could also feel something else. The bond between them, stronger than physics, stronger than death. "We're in this together, remember? Heart sister and all that." She pushed more power through the connection. Valcronus's life force mixed with hers. 2 beings becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. The bubble expanded, encompassing the remaining rebel ships, giving them shelter. Time lost meaning. Seconds felt like hours. Hours felt like seconds. Mara existed in a state between life and death, held together only by willpower and the bond she shared with a dying dragon. Finally, the supernova began to fade. The initial blast passed, leaving behind an expanding cloud of cooling gas and radiation. The bubble collapsed. They tumbled through space, Valcronus barely conscious, Mara barely alive. The 3 baby dragons cried, sensing something wrong with their parents. Mara's eyes flickered open. Her body was wrecked, but she was breathing. Valcronus lay beside her, his scales dim and cracked. But his hearts were beating, both the biological one and the human-made hybrid. "We lived," Mara whispered. "We lived," Valcronus confirmed weakly. Around them, 15 ships remained from the rebel fleet. 15 out of 200. The survivors moved closer, forming a protective formation. "Dragon's Heart," a voice called over the comm. "You saved us. You saved everyone." Mara wanted to say something profound, something meaningful about sacrifice and courage. Instead, she passed out. She woke 3 days later in a medical bay on one of the surviving ships. Her body was covered in burns and scars that looked like lightning strikes. Her neural patterns were permanently altered, giving her perception beyond normal human limits. She could see in more colors than before, hear frequencies that didn't exist, feel the quantum foam that made up reality itself. She was still human, but she was also something else now. Something new. Valcronus was in the bay with her, resting. The baby dragons were curled up on his back, sleeping peacefully. They had grown already, now the size of large dogs. They would grow much more in the coming months. "You're awake," Valcronus said softly in her mind. "I was worried." "Takes more than a supernova to kill a human," Mara joked weakly. Then her expression fell. "The fleet, the people who died, they chose to stand with us. They saw something worth dying for." Valcronus's voice was heavy with sorrow. "We will honor them by living, by making sure their sacrifice mattered." One of the baby dragons woke and crawled over to Mara. It chirped and nuzzled against her hand. She petted its scales, marveling at how soft they were. "They need names," she said. "You should name them. You're their mother in a way. You helped birth them," Mara smiled. "Nova for the star that tried to kill us. Spark for the rebellion we started. And Hope because that's what they represent." The 3 dragons chirped approval. "The collective will hear about this," Valcronus warned. "They'll know the Drakkar have returned. They'll come with everything they have." Mara sat up slowly, her enhanced perception already calculating trajectories and strategies. "Let them come. We're not running anymore." She looked at the 15 surviving ships, at the baby dragons, at Valcronus with his cracked scales and borrowed human technology keeping him alive. They were a mess. A broken dragon, a changed human, 3 babies and a handful of rebels. But they had done the impossible. They had brought the Drakkar back from extinction, and somewhere in the galaxy, the Sovereign Collective was about to learn that killing dragons was much easier than killing hope. "We need to move," Mara said, standing on shaky legs. "Find allies, build strength. The collective won't give us time to rest. Where do we go?" Valcronus asked. Mara smiled, and it wasn't entirely human anymore. "Home. We go to Earth. Time for humanity to meet their new neighbors." The 3 baby dragons chirped excitedly, and Valcronus laughed despite everything. A human, a dragon, and hope itself, heading toward the stars. The galaxy would never be the same. Earth had never seen a dragon before. When Valcronus entered the solar system with his 3 children and a small fleet of alien refugees, humanity didn't know whether to panic or celebrate. Mara made the decision easy. She broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Mara Chen, human citizen, coming home. I've got friends with me. Big friends. Don't shoot." The military scrambled, but Earth's government was smart enough to listen before acting. When they saw the collective's bounty on Mara's head and read the reports of what she had done, opinions shifted quickly. Humanity had always loved an underdog story. The fleet took position near Mars while diplomats argued about what to do. Mara spent the time teaching the baby dragons about human culture, showing them old movies and music. They loved it all, especially the ones with explosions. "Your species is fascinatingly violent," Nova observed, watching an action film. "Yeah, we're good at that," Mara admitted. "But we're also good at building things, creating things, fixing things." Spark landed on her shoulder, now the size of a large bird. "Like you fixed father." "Like I fixed your father," Mara agreed, scratching under his chin. Valcronus had recovered somewhat, though he would never be at full strength again. The hybrid heart kept him alive but limited his power. He didn't mind. He had his children. He had a purpose again. Hope, the smallest of the 3, was watching Earth through the viewport. "So many lights. So many people. Are they all like you, Mother Mara?" "Some better, some worse," Mara said. "But mostly just trying to do their best with what they've got. That's what humans do." The diplomatic meetings went better than expected. Earth's government saw an opportunity. The sovereign collective controlled most of the galaxy through intimidation and economic pressure. But if Earth aligned with the returning Drakkar, they could break that control. It was risky. It could mean war. But humans had never been great at playing it safe. 2 months after arriving at Earth, the decision was made. Humanity would stand with the dragons. They would support the rebellion openly. The collective responded exactly as expected. They declared Earth a hostile entity and sent their fleet to enforce compliance. Mara stood in the command center watching the tactical displays. 200 collective warships were approaching, more than enough to devastate Earth's defenses. "We can't win this," a general said bluntly. "We need to evacuate." "No," Mara said. Her enhanced perception was showing her patterns in the collective's formation, weaknesses in their strategy. "We can win. We just need to think like humans." "What does that mean?" Mara grinned. "It means we cheat." The plan was insane, but that was par for the course now. Earth's forces wouldn't fight the collective fleet head-on. Instead, they would bait them into attacking a seemingly critical target, Earth's hyperspace relay station, which controlled all faster-than-light travel in the system. The collective took the bait. They committed their entire fleet to destroying the station. What they didn't know was that the station was rigged as a giant EMP bomb, and that Valcronus and his children were waiting. When the collective fleet closed in, Mara gave the signal. The station detonated, releasing an electromagnetic pulse that fried every electronic system within 1,000,000 kilometers. The collective ships went dark, floating helplessly. Then the dragons attacked. Valcronus was magnificent despite his limitations, his scales blazing with borrowed starlight, but his children were something else entirely. They had been born with both Drakkar biology and an understanding of human technology, thanks to Mara's influence during their creation. Nova generated plasma storms that melted armor. Spark created electromagnetic fields that tore ships apart. Hope did something nobody expected. She hacked into the collective ship's computers and turned their weapons against each other. "Did that dragon just use cyber warfare?" someone asked in awe. "She learned from Mara," another replied. "Of course she uses cyber warfare." The battle was over in an hour. Not a single collective ship escaped. Earth had won through a combination of dragon power and human trickery. But Mara knew it wasn't over. This was just one fleet. The collective would send more bigger fleets, maybe even their entire military, unless they removed the collective's ability to fight entirely. She studied the star charts in her enhanced vision, seeing patterns and connections that normal humans couldn't perceive. The collective's power came from controlling hyperspace travel. They had built a network of control stations across the galaxy, choke points that let them decide who could travel where. If those stations were destroyed, the collective would lose its grip on the galaxy. "We need to hit them everywhere at once," Mara said to the assembled leaders. "Coordinated strikes on every control station simultaneously. Collapse their network before they can respond." "That would require attacking hundreds of targets across the galaxy," Earth's admiral protested. "We don't have the forces." "No," Mara agreed. "But we have something better. We have a message." She broadcast across every frequency, to every rebel cell, every oppressed world, every species that had suffered under collective rule. "This is Mara Chen, the dragon's heart. The collective can be beaten. We just proved it. Now here's how we beat them everywhere." She shared the location of every control station, every weakness in their defenses, every vulnerability that her enhanced mind had identified. She gave the galaxy a roadmap to freedom. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of rebel groups, millions of individuals, all striking at once. The collective's network collapsed in a single day, their control broken by the very people they had oppressed. But the collective leadership made a final desperate move. They activated a doomsday weapon, hidden in Earth's hyperspace nexus designed to collapse the entire galaxy's hyperspace network. If they couldn't control it, they would destroy it. Mara felt the weapon activate through her enhanced senses. She had seconds to act. "Valcronus," she said urgently. "The Nexus. They're going to collapse all of hyperspace. Trillions will die." "I can stabilize it," Valcronus said, "but it will take everything I have. The hybrid heart can't sustain that kind of power draw. It will fail." Mara's heart broke. She knew what he was saying. This would kill him. "Father, no," Nova cried. There must be another way, Spark insisted. There isn't, Valcronis said gently. He looked at Mara. You gave me years I shouldn't have had. You gave me children. You gave my species a future. Let me give the galaxy the same gift. Mara wanted to argue, to find another solution to fix this like she fixed everything else. But sometimes things couldn't be fixed. Sometimes sacrifice was the only answer. I'm coming with you, Mara said. No? Yes. Mara's voice was firm. We're bonded. We do this together. Besides, you'll need someone to handle the technical side while you manage the power flow. They flew to the Nexus together. One last time. Mara manually accessed the collective's weapon while Valcronis positioned himself at the center of the hyperspace network. Ready? Mara asked. Ready, Valcronis confirmed. They worked in perfect synchronization, human and dragon, mechanical and cosmic, thinking as one being. Mara disabled the weapon's collapse function while Valcronis channeled his life force through the network, stabilizing the hyperspace lanes across the entire galaxy. It was impossible. It was beautiful. It was working. Valcronis's scales began to crack, light bleeding through. The hybrid heart screamed in protest, burning itself out. But he held on, pouring everything he had into saving trillions of lives he would never meet. Mara felt the backlash through their bond. It was going to kill them both. The energy feedback would tear them apart. She smiled. There were worse ways to die than saving the galaxy. Then, at the last moment, 3 smaller dragons appeared. Nova, Spark, and Hope, grown larger in the past months but still young. We're here, Nova said. We're family, Spark added. And families save each other, Hope finished. The 3 young Drakkar added their power to Valcronis's, sharing the burden. Together, the 4 dragons created a matrix of stabilizing energy that spread across the galaxy. The weapon died. The hyperspace network stabilized. The galaxy was saved, but Valcronis was fading fast. Go, he told his children. Take Mara somewhere safe. Father, they protested. Go, he repeated, firmer. To Mara, he said, thank you. For everything. For making me believe again. Thank you, Mara whispered, tears streaming down her face. For showing me what I could become. Valcronis's eyes dimmed. His body began breaking apart, dissolving into light, but he was smiling. Tell them, he said. Tell the galaxy that dragons and humans can do anything together. Tell them. He faded completely, becoming starlight and memory. The 3 young dragons carried Mara back to Earth, all of them crying. The galaxy mourned. The last of the ancient Drakkar was gone. But in his place were 3 young ones ready to take up his legacy. The sovereign collective collapsed within weeks, leaderless and broken. Species that had been oppressed for generations started rebuilding. The hyperspace lanes, stabilized by Valcronis's sacrifice, were now free for everyone to use. A new age began. The Drakkar returned to their ancient role as protectors. But this time they weren't alone. Humanity stood beside them, offering engineering, ingenuity, and stubborn determination. Mara became an advisor to the young dragons, teaching them about the galaxy's newer species. She was no longer fully human, but that was okay. She was something new, something that bridged 2 impossible concepts,